All right, good afternoon for everybody actually. Good afternoon. Welcome to CrossbonesMMA's UFC 191 pre-fight show. My name is Eddie Law. I am your host. With me today, Don Manos, also from Crossbones. How you doing, man?
Amazing. Just looking
All
forward to
right, and Jesse Ruvalcaba. How you doing, dude?
Good. What's up, guys?
Chilling, man. You California living though. I'm sure the weather's better there than here, right?
Somewhat, I guess.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, today obviously we're talking about UFC 191. If you have no clue about the card or you don't know anybody on it, all good. We got you covered. Let's kick it off right away. UFC Fight Pass prelims. The early prelims start at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. So in about 4 hours, they're gonna kick off on Fight Pass. First fight of the night. Is it Joaquim? Yeah, Joaquim Silva against Nazareno Maligari. Silva, obviously from Brazil. You can pretty much tell from the last name. And Nazareno from Argentina. To me, it looks like Nazareno has the edge and experience, right? He's got the edge and experience, but Silva is 0 or 100% finishes. Don, let's start off with you. What do you think of this fight? Who are you picking?
I'm going to go with Silva, just based on the whole finishing factor. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, knockout power. Plus, it's really just to pick him because I haven't had a chance to watch either one person fight. So I'm going to go with my Brazilian people.
Yeah, I got you on that one. I'm picking Silva as well, off of the finishing factor, but I can't ignore the experience of the Argentinian. 27 and I believe it's 27 and 3. Yeah, 27 and 3.
28 and 4 is what the UFC has him.
Oh, 24? All right, let's go with 20 and 4. As far as his record goes. So that experience is there compared to the 7 fights that the Brazilian has had so far. But I like the younger guys. I like the guys that go for finishes. I like the aggressive fighters. I'm also picking Silva. What do you think, Jesse? You taking the Argentinian?
Yeah. Honestly, I think I was looking at both of these guys, and you know how I like to hamper on experience. And the thing here that stood out to me a lot is that Nazareno El Tigre has been in there with a lot of really, really good mixed martial artists. And he doesn't lose, definitively most of the time. He takes a lot of these guys to a decision. He took Rad Martinez to decision, Daniel Strauss, who I think is fighting for the title in Bellator, and then Marlon Sandro. All three of those guys, anybody that watches Bellator, anybody that knows Bellator MMA knows those names. Those guys put on exciting fights, they're finishers, and this dude was in there and gave them hell of a fight, each one of them. Lost to those three, but still gave them good fights. You know, that just seals it for me. The only thing that I think Silva's going to have an advantage of is his Muay Thai. He's got like some weird like black belt. I don't know what they called it, but I guess they have a ranking system in Brazil. And so I mean he's a high level striker, and that's the only thing that kind of worries me about it. Again, both of them first time fighting in the UFC, so we know that both of them are going to have the jitters. But I'm going to give Nazareno the edge just because he's already been in there with a lot of these, big pressure fights, fighting for Bellator. So I'm pretty sure he's well adjusted to fighting, on television and stuff. So, him being here on Fight Pass, I don't think is going to be such a big deal for him, and I think he's going to be able to use that experience to edge out Silva. I really think that this is going to be a good, probably a good jiu-jitsu match, though, because they both seem to be very, very well versed in jiu-jitsu. So hopefully it turns out to be one of those exciting fights that they later show us, because it went really, really, one of those epic fights. So we'll see.
Right, and I'm with you on it, man. The experience factor when it comes to the jitters, the UFC jitters, is huge. Like we talk about it every single show. Jitters are always real. They're the real deal. They actually happen. They get everybody that's new. So, the experience fighting those bigger pressure fights, the experience of just having a lot of fights will help out Nazareno for sure. So, I mean, it's very possible. If you're picking Nazareno, it's not like you shouldn't be confident. The dude knows what he's doing out there. All right, moving on to the other early prelims fight. This one's a little weird. I'm not surprised to see either one of these guys in the Fight Pass prelims, but we get Joe Riggs against Diesel against Ron Stallings, who's the choir boy, which, I mean, whatever, as far as nicknames go. But here Joe Riggs comes in with the experience, but the last couple times I saw Joe Riggs, he didn't look great. Not to mention, he missed weight the first time, had to weigh in one more time, came in at 185.5 pounds, but, he missed weight early, which means that weight cut was a motherfucker, and then having to, cut weight again afterwards. it does hurt you. We've seen it with other fighters. It does hurt them even though they made weight afterwards. So, Jesse, starting with you, Ron Stallings, Joe Riggs, who you got?
Man, I think the biggest number that I see here is 40-16. Joe Riggs' record there. My God, 56 fights under your belt. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of fights to have. On a 2-fight losing streak, it's just not looking good for Joe Riggs here. I mean, he used to be one of those exciting fighters that you knew he was going to put on a show. Every time he would come out, he would lay it all out there. But man, I just don't see how he can get past Ron Stallings here. Stallings, he's just one of those guys that has a lot of power, has the ability to submit you. Just all around, really, really well-rounded guy. Had a kind of lackluster fight against Uriah Hall. And in that fight, we got to see Uriah Hall kind of tough it out. Isn't that the one where he busted his toe, right?
Yep.
It was all nasty.
He didn't even walk. Yeah.
So I mean, we got to learn a lot about both of these guys. And then what was it? He got stopped by a cut, right? He just had a nasty cut before. So I mean, he's a tough dude. I really think he's gonna have his kind of shiny moment here against Joe Riggs, and I think that's kind of why they put this fight together. I think they want to push Ron Stallings, a little bit farther up the rankings here. But it's probably not going to do much for him to beat a guy in Joe Riggs. Like I said, 2-loss streak here. Just pretty much on his last little leg here.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing about Joe Riggs too, I mean, Joe Riggs, just like you said, has had so many fights. The damage that he's taken, the miles on his body, and then obviously the last couple times he's fought, he hasn't looked that great. Especially the one in Phoenix, I forgot who he was fighting, but I think he busted his neck, or he hurt his neck really early and had to basically the fight stop right away.
Ben Saunders.
There you go, Ben Saunders. And so yeah, it's very, very, very possible. Don, who you got in this fight?
I'm gonna have to go with Ron Stallings. I'm friends with him on Facebook. I see that dude all the time. He's always training, always constantly trying to improve the skills that he already has. I mean, he did show his toughness because if you watch the Uriah Hall fight where he got his eyebrows split open, he still tried to fight. He wasn't trying to get out of that fight. He then went on to an easy decision. I mean, it was kind of boring. I watched it. But then you look at Joe Riggs. I mean, he kind of hurt his neck just as soon as Ben Saunders went into mission control. Mm-hmm. It was crazy to see him get hurt. And then Patrick O'Tay killed him. Joe's kind of on his last leg ever since he beat Mike Bronzoulis back in Bellator for winning that Tough Enough show that Bellator had for a while. And he trains out of the lab. Yeah, he's going to be training some of the top people, like Ben Henderson's out there and a few other people. But I just don't think that's enough, especially for the fact that he's kind of slowly just easing his way out of the UFC again. It sucks to see because he's been in there. He's kind of like one of the staples. If you look at some of the people he's fought in the past, Joe is easily on some great highlight films. But Ron's younger, hungrier. I think Joe will probably lose, but it'll be a boring decision to watch. And then hopefully, if he does lose, he'll finally call it an end in a kind of a nice way.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. He's got the guys that he's fought are crazy. Just the Nick Diaz fight that he won, somehow he won, by BS, whatever, some BS garbage going on. But the fight against Nick Diaz to me is the one that introduced me to Joe Riggs. And then I watched the rest of his fights and I was like, okay, he had one lucky fight, but whatever. But no, you're right. He's fought everybody. I'm also going with Ron Stallings for the same reasons. Basically, you guys said the dude's tough as hell, and I don't see Joe Riggs splitting his eyebrow open. I don't see Joe Riggs being able to do much against him, really. So, And again, I stopped telling fighters that they should retire. But Joe Riggs is one of those guys that we see can get beat up so many times. He's been put to the ringer so many times, and he's already been let go from the UFC once. While it'd be nice for him to go out on a win, I just don't see it happening. And I think this is what this fight is. I think they give him somebody that's tough, but that they see that he could possibly beat, and maybe he'll decide to go off on his own, off into the sunset on his own. But regardless, weird enough, I still enjoy seeing Joe Riggs as long as he's not on the main card of a pay-per-view. I'm cool with that. But yeah. So yeah, Joe Riggs, Ron Stallings. We're all picking Stallings on this one. All right, the Fox Sports 1 prelims will start at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, kicked off by one of the guys that's actually kind of favored by a lot of people, Clay Collard, Cassius, taking on Thiago Trator instead of calling him Trader. Thiago Trator from Brazil. So we got America against Brazil. Both of these guys are relatively experienced, basically the same amount. And And to me, it looks like they're both pretty well-rounded with the reach going to Clay Collard. Clay Collard is a popular guy. So, Don, what do you think of this fight?
I like both guys, but I'm gonna actually just go with Thiago because it turns out Team Nogueira. I'm a big Nogueira fan. That team is always beast. Plus, he kind of doesn't like to go to decision. If you look at his wins, there's barely any that actually went to decision. He likes to push the pace. He likes to try to either knock you out or take you down. So I think Clay has a chance if he gets it to the ground. He kind of does the whole wrestling thing that we've seen now, where you just kind of pity punch them a little bit and then you take the decision. But I think Thiago will probably end up knocking him out in the first or second. This is gonna be my shock for the night. Is really Thiago's gonna show that Clay Collard shouldn't be the favorite like he is on most people's cards.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I forgot to ask you on the first 2 fights. Do you have the odds on that?
No, man, I only got the odds for the main card. The only thing people care about.
Yeah, so no one really bets on the other ones. So I'm just making sure. Yeah. All right, Jesse, what do you think of this fight? Who you got?
Man, I gotta agree with Don. I just don't understand why Clay Collard is so liked and so favored in a lot of his fights. I mean, I don't know if maybe it's the nickname or what it is, but I mean, for some reason, a lot of people pick this guy to just be the next something. He's got a lot of hype behind him. But you look at what he has. I mean, he's what on a two losses in the UFC so far. His last win was against Alex White, who the hell is that, really? You know, and then you look at his opponent, Thiago. He was on a 10-fight win streak, and he lost to one guy, Mike De La Torre, who's a pretty tough dude. So I mean, like I said, I agree with Don. I don't see how Clay Collard is gonna be able to really do anything that Thiago hasn't seen before, and I think Thiago's gonna shut him down pretty easily. Probably, I'm gonna agree with Don. I think he might stop him with some strikes there, but he might actually wobble him, put him down, and then choke him out maybe. But I mean, I just don't see how Clay's striking, how everybody says that he's got this amazing striking. It's not there. I mean, I've looked at his last fights. It doesn't look like anything super amazing that I'm just, excited to see. Later on, there's a guy that I'm really excited to see again because he does bring a really, really diverse set of skills in striking, and I'm pretty sure you guys know who I'm talking about. But I mean, Clay, he doesn't seem to have that. I don't know, that pizzazz, I guess, or whatever it is that I'm looking for in a fighter. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go against Collard here and just go with what is it? What everybody's calling him, traitor for some reason or something? But
Yeah.
but I guess I was looking up his name. I guess it means tractor or something in Brazilian or something. So I'm gonna go with the tractor. He's gonna steamroll this guy.
All right. Here's the thing about Clay Collard. I'm with you guys. I'm taking Thiago as well. Clay Collard came into the UFC in 2014 and unfortunately ran into Max Holloway, who's a bad dude. Lost to him via TKO. Then the win against Alex White is what opened my eyes. A guy with his kind of striking going decision, I'm not saying his striking is bad. I'm saying it's overrated. So the guy's kind of overrated in my opinion. He beats Alex White. Then they put him up against Gabriel Benitez, who was just coming off the the tough Latin America show, and he loses via decision, right? So yeah, Clay Collard to me is he's overrated. The striking looks nice, looks fancy, but he doesn't have a lot of power behind it, it seems. So I'm going as well with Thiago on this fight. All right, moving on here to the next prelim. We got Jessica Andrade, number 13 ranked bantamweight. I don't know how to say her nickname. It's like Batistaca, which I'm not sure what that means. Against Raquel Pennington. Last time we saw Pennington against she fought Holly Holm, made Holly Holm look average, or Holly Holm made herself look average. We don't know yet, but we know she's gonna be destroyed soon. But Rocky held her own against a champion boxer. In the strike game, that fight didn't even go to the ground, if I remember correctly. So, Rocky, I like Rocky. I'm picking Jessica Andrade on this one. I just think she has way more tools than Rocky does. But I will not be surprised if Rocky somehow finds a way to win this one decision. If the fight stays on the feet. Jesse, what do you think of this fight?
Man, I gotta agree with you. I mean, Andrade was a winner last time. It was a split decision that they had. It was I can't say it was a good fight. But it was an interesting fight where you got to see a lot of skills that Andrade has. She pretty much showed her wide range of skills, her striking, her takedown defense, her takedowns. You know, she just showed everything that she has in her toolbox. Raquel Pennington, though, every time I see her, I just like her style more and more. I just wish I don't know, I almost wish she took some time off to kind of just hone her skills to where it could match her toughness. Because she's probably the toughest chick in the division. I mean, the beating that she went through against, who was it, the chick that she bulldog choked to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a great fight just to see that Raquel Pennington is tough as nails, dude. You know, it's sad to see that she has such a bad record. It doesn't reflect how good of a fighter she really is. And like you said, Eddie, you know, stepping in there against Holly Holm, someone that has, you know, what are they talking about right now? Holly Holm has the best striking. She has the best chance of knocking out Ronda Rousey. Yeah, right. She couldn't even knock out Raquel Pennington, and she put some leather on her, like in some of those rounds. But that was it. Like, she didn't open up very well. She was real like tentative. She was afraid of Raquel Pennington's power. So what is Ronda Rousey going to do? She's just going to knock her out the same way she did to Betch Correa last time. See, but like again, if she couldn't do something to someone as tough as Raquel Pennington, it just shows you how tough she really is. Again, though, in rematches, especially when it hasn't been that long since they fought, I think Andrade already has the edge, and I think Andrade already kind of knows what to do to really stop Raquel Pennington's attack, and I think she's going to just kind of go off the same blueprint and probably just modify it a little bit more to make it more decisive.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that too as well. It's a rough fight. This was kind of hard to pick for me because I'm a big fan of Rocky. But Don, who you picking, man?
I'm gonna have to go with Jessica as well. Both fighters remind me kind of like of those what you do to train in boxing. You put that tire in the middle of the ring, you stand there and you just go, so you don't back up. Both of them seem like they're gonna bite down their mouthpiece and they're just gonna try to knock each other out because they don't want to go to split decision again. But if we end up doing a striking match, Jessica's probably a better striker than Rocky. Rocky has a better chin, but I also trust Jessica if it goes to the ground. And she is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She has lost in the past to like being knocked out, and she also had some losses when it comes to submissions. But I think Jessica might have the advantage on the feet and on the ground. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is fight of the night or even a performance of the night for either girl.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that as well. And again, Jessica Andrade, I'm with you on that. Better striker than Rocky. Rocky's tough as nails. It'll be I will not be surprised if Rocky wins somehow, like a decision. But this is one of those fights where they have a chance they both have a chance to make some noise and be the ones that everyone talks about. On this card. Now, of course, everyone has that chance. But I think these girls, with the way the 135 division is, have a chance to get at least a payday and go get their butts kicked by Ronda Rousey at some point. So it seems like that's what everyone does at this point. And real quick, we'll take a break for the card real quick for a second. You guys saw the Go Big press conference, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick, because we have someone watching. GJS was asking me about it, what I thought of it, and it was the Conor McGregor show. It was hilarious, annoying at points. Dude seemed like he was drunk as shit, but he was speaking truth the whole time. Real quick, Don, what did you think of it?
I agree. It was the Conor McGregor show, and what was really funny was the lack of care when it came to everybody else. It seemed like anytime there was a question, it was always Conor answering for them. Other than when they asked Roy Nelson a question, Conor always had something to say about it. But the big takeaway is watch Holly Holm when they ask her a straight question. She sounds like a broken person already, and it's really sad because I think that fight had a chance to be probably fight of the year between her and Ronda. But she was stuttering. She was really shaky when she talked about the upcoming fight. Sounds kind of like someone who already in their head knows that they might lose.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're facing Ronda Rousey. Right? At some point, you will be in a locked cage with a probably the best fighter, and at least female fighter, ever. You know what I mean? We've never seen a Ronda Rousey ever. So, yeah, if you're going in there with Holly Holm's going in there with no ground game or none that we've seen, it's a tall order. But Jesse, you saw this. You saw Conor McGregor. You saw Chad Mendes talking stuff against the guy that knocked him out. What'd you think of this whole thing, man? All
right, Joe Rogan over here talking up Ronda Rousey. Are you gonna start crying too? Anyway, yeah. I mean, man. So am I. I mean, like Don said, I mean, you look at how a lot of women go into fighting Ronda Rousey, and you see it in their eye. You know, a lot of them realize that the skills they're bringing is just not going to be enough. No matter how much they train, it's just not going to be enough. And it's sad to see, you know, because you just know. And then I look at the matchups that they had there, and I think the matchup I'm seriously mostly excited about has to be the Jose Aldo Conor McGregor, just because that dude, he has a lot to prove. I mean, I still want to see Conor McGregor against Frankie Edgar. Yes. That fight would be one of the best fights, in my opinion, to prove and solidify that Conor McGregor is the real deal. You know, the only thing that's holding that back is that we have to see this Jose Aldo fight. Mm-hmm. And I think what's happening is that Jose Aldo knows for a fact that he's going to be in there with a guy that has striking and speed on his level. So he's got to push himself to the best that he can, to the way he was back when he was coming up in the WBC. Mm-hmm. Back when those fights, he was a monster. He would go for a finish. He wouldn't take a round off. He was just trying to kill people. And he's kind of been so far ahead now that he's kind of taken his foot off the gas, not really kept up with what he's been doing. You know, you can just tell that he hasn't been as sharp as he was before. And now he has to rehone those skills and be the best he can be. And I think that's what's going to make that fight so good, because he has to be at the top of his game to be able to prove that he's the king, the pound-for-pound king of his division and probably of the UFC. Because if you look back, that dude has had some pretty dominant people coming his way, and he's put them all down. I mean, he beat Frankie Edgar in a really, really close decision. You know, a guy, Frankie Edgar, that can just do everything, never gets tired, and that was, I think, the second time I've ever seen Frankie Edgar slow down in a fight. So, I mean, yeah, but I mean, all in all, that whole thing, it was disappointing to me because I really wanted them to announce something. I think we all know that we were all hoping that they would announce a certain fighter would be being signed and maybe giving them a match or something. But it just never happened. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, go big. They didn't go big. They just had Conor McGregor. They might have just said, hey, it's the Conor McGregor show. Hashtag Conor McGregor is going to whoop some ass and talk some shit. So, I mean, but all in all, I mean, it was fun to see all those guys up there. I hope they keep doing that, and keep bringing those big matches.
Yeah, and then what they do now is they do seasons. We've had Welcome to the Show. We've had whatever else they did. I forget already. But yeah, this doing by seasons thing. It's kind of working so far. The first time it was weird, and the second one I was like, okay. This time I think it's because it was hilarious. It was great. So, but yeah, I was expecting the announcement of a certain Russian being signed, and of course, leave it to Hawani to be the one asking about that shit. But we haven't heard it yet, so we'll see later on. But yeah, I agree. I thought it was a Conor McGregor show. I was laughing my ass off the whole time. It was great. The face-off between Aldo and Conor. Here's the thing. Aldo hasn't really done that with anybody else, right? Even if he was pissed off, I think he didn't do that. I think that's a sign of a man that, just like you said, Jesse, has a lot to prove. And that's really weird to say about a guy that's been the only featherweight champion that we've had in the UFC. So that's a guy that called himself the king. He called himself a bunch of stuff. At one point, we consider him the best fighter on the planet. It's very interesting to see, the king be the one that has to prove. It'll be interesting to see the fight. I can't wait. I really can't wait. Just please don't pull out of the fight, Jose, because that'd be some bullshit if you do. But yeah.
There's another takeaway from that. If you watch it all, didn't everybody else, like, if you listen to everybody else talk, other than Jose and Conor, of course, everybody's trash talk was the nicest trash talk I've ever heard in my life. Joanna was like, I respect Valerie. Holly was like, I respect Ronda. And then DC was just like, name a good Alexander Gustafsson win. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't, other than Manoa. That's the meanest it got. Everybody else was just like, yeah, he's a good guy, a good girl, I like them, they're going to be a fun fight. But then, I'm looking, honestly, that whole thing got me more hyped up for Justin Poirier and Joe Duffy. Oh, yeah. Because Joe Duffy, that dude has a chance in the 155 division. I love to watch Joe Duffy getting a good striking, or get someone in the striking. Because, you got Poirier, who's tough as nails, but if you could get him up in the top 10, get him up against, like, Miles Jury, dude, Joe Duffy and Miles Jury would be nuts.
Hell of a fight, man. And you know what? The one thing I thought about it, too, because I noticed that, too. The only one talking trash to Conor and Aldo, Mendes tried, failed, Cowboy kind of put Conor in his place for a second, and then got owned too. The one guy that was missing was Chris Weidman, because Chris Weidman will start off nicely. Luke Rockhold will be like, I'm gonna kick your ass, dude, and then at some point that would start. We'd finally get to see the side of Chris Weidman that we wanted to see, a trash talker at some point of some sort. He's having his third child, so he wasn't able to make it. Congratulations to Chris Weidman and Don Dotson, by the way, as while we're on the subject. But it was. I think to me the funniest part was when Dana White goes, "All right, guys," and then Conor goes, "Yeah, see, watch this shit." And it's like, Josie's got to go. He's got to jump on a plane. And Conor grabs him like, he's running away again. I'm like, oh shit, dude. And they had to do the face off. It was fucking hilarious. But all right, well, let's get back to this card. We got a few more fights to talk about. The next fight after Andrade against Pennington, Francisco Rivera against John Lineker. Both guys got some hands. This one we're hoping is a possible fight of the night if it isn't for the feature prelim. Maybe being better than this one, but this is a hell of a fight in my opinion. John Lineker can throw with the best of them. He made weight, good. Now we just get in there and fight. Don, let's start off with you, man. What do you think of this fight? Who you got?
I love both fighters in this. It's really hard to really choose who's going to win because John Lineker got the power. John Lineker has the more fights, but if you look at the people that Francisco Rivera's faced recently, everybody in the UFC, if you're a good UFC fan, you know all those people that he's faced. Alex Caceres, he just got done with Alex Caceres, knocking him out. He faced Uriah Faber. There was somebody else in there too right before the Faber fight that he faced. That was a big name for a while. But yeah, for real, if I had to go with it, I'm gonna go John Lineker because last time I saw him lose, it was against that Sambo guy who got busted in the flyweight division. Can't think of his name. Lost to Demetrius too.
Ali Bagotinov.
Yeah, Bagotinov. That's last time I ever saw Lineker lose. Lineker got the hands of stone, as his nickname says. So I'm gonna say Lineker will win. I'm not sure how. I mean, it's gonna be a hell of a fight.
For sure, man. I like Francisco Rivera in this one. Dude, they both look just like you were saying. It's hard to pick between both guys. John Lineker, I think he has the power, but I think Francisco Rivera is it's just his night. I think it's gonna be his night. But that's who I'm picking. Who you got, Jesse?
Isn't this the fight where Lineker is supposed to prove, or his punishment fight at 135, and then he can move back to 125, right?
Right. I just wasn't convinced he was going to make 135. I thought for sure he's going to miss that too. So, but yeah, I think it is his punishment fight.
He's going to go in there, rub his belly after he wins again, right? Honestly, yeah. I think Lineker is going to have an advantage here just because he's not depleting himself to the bare minimum of dropping to 125. I think that's going to be the big difference here. Francisco Rivera looks good at 135, but I think Lineker is just going to have that advantage of actually not killing himself and trying to make that 125 weight limit. Yeah, like Don said, I mean, he has the more experience, and you know how much I harp on experience. Our experience means a lot in this business, knowing what to expect, what your opponent's trying to do, all that stuff. Plus, he's got the hands, he's got the knockouts, he's got the record to prove that his striking is really, really on point. And like Don said, I mean, his only loss has been to a guy that obviously was doping to try and make up for what he couldn't do in the gym, which was handle his cardio, which is what he got busted for, is EPO. So I mean, and if you go back and look at that fight, that's how he lost. He just got outworked by a guy that had the better cardio, was able to take the shots and recover. And if you know anything about EPO, that's basically what it does. It helps you to get your cardio up to a point where it's ridiculous. Which is going to be another thing that I have to bring up later because even with that he still couldn't beat somebody. But I think Lineker here is it's going to be his night, and he's got to prove something. I really wanted him to come in underweight and kind of prove to the UFC that he can not only make the weight but make it easy, so that when he asks for his 125 fight, that he can prove to them, look, I'm determined to make it. I'm already underweight. I'm already near the weight that I'm trying to fight at. I just think he has a lot to prove. I really think it's going to be an exciting fight. Not as exciting as the next fight, but I think Lineker is going to walk away with this one.
All right, so we got did you pick Rivera, Don?
No, I went Lineker, man.
Lineker. So we got two Linekers and one Francisco Rivera. Just to let you know. All right. Moving on here to the next fight, the one that's a feature prelim, might be the fight that I'm the most excited about. And actually, it is the fight I'm most excited about. Ross Pearson, the real deal, taking on the Irish Dragon, Paul Felder. Last time we saw Paul Felder was against Edson Barbosa, where he was taking nasty body shots and still walking forward like a boss. So I'm a big fan of Paul Felder. I'm picking Paul Felder all the way. Ross Pearson's been, it's just weird. Ross Pearson's been like the unluckiest guy in that division, if not the entire UFC. Crappy decision loss to Diego Sanchez, which blew everybody's mind, including Diego Sanchez. That dude could barely talk after the fight. Fucking, and then they give Ross Pearson a fight we thought he was going to be a standing fight. And I think his last one, I forgot who he fought.
Evan Dunham.
There you go. We thought it was going to be a stand fight, and ended up not being. Well, now Ross Pearson gets a guy who's not only going to stand with him the entire time, but walk forward no matter what. And that's what Ross Pearson has been wanting. So this is going to be a fun fight. It's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be fight of the night. This is the fight I'm most excited about, which I'm very happy about that. I like it when the fight that I think is going to be the best is a free fight, because then I could think twice about going to a bar somewhere to watch the rest of the card. But overall, I got Paul Felder. The Axe Dragon's going to whoop some ass. Jesse, who you got?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I mean, I like Ross Pearson. But the thing about Ross Pearson is he's that European striker. He's very, very much in love with his hands. He likes his boxing a lot. But he's just, I mean, that Evan Dunham fight showed me that like his just ability to really adjust to a fight isn't there. And the thing with Paul Felder is we saw in that Edson Barbosa fight. I mean, it was almost like K1 style kickboxing in that match. I mean, both of those guys, high level kickboxers, they knew exactly what they were doing to each other. They knew how to try to break each other down, and both of those dudes just stood in there and just threw. And I mean, Felder, he was pissed off because he lost that decision. I mean, that was a razor close decision in my opinion. I thought it could have been a split decision. And I think it was a unanimous decision, right, for Barbosa on that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think the problem here for Pearson is that he's always trying to get back in there, trying to break that, top 10, top 5, and they just keep giving him these guys that are coming off of a loss, coming in to prove a point, and he just gets steamrolled sometimes, dude. And I think this is what's going to happen here. Because, if you look at his reaction, Paul Felder's reaction after that fight, he was pissed. I'm pretty sure if Dana White had been like, hey, let's just, restart this match, 3 rounds again, he probably would have been in there just, the same way, just stepping forward, throwing as much as he could, trying to set up those kicks and those punches. So I think that's what he's going to come in here, and he's going to lay some pain on poor Pearson. But I just feel bad for Pearson because I really like his style. And his just kind of grinding, trying to wear people out, lots of body shots, lots of just attacks too, with the punches and stuff. But I just don't see how any of that's going to be something that Felder hasn't seen and isn't going to be able to just, counter and just really take advantage of any openings that Ross Pearson leaves with, the way he strikes. He strikes real heavy. He plants. So I just see a lot of openings for Felder to take advantage of.
Yeah, and I thought Paul Felder beat Edson Barbosa in that fight. I thought for sure he had that win. And if you think about it, Edson Barbosa, much more dynamic, much more versatile striker and fighter overall than Ross Pearson is. Just like you said, heavy-footed, heavy-handed, doesn't move very much. I'm leaning, like I said, I'm picking Felder, and I think it's going to be a big win for him. What do you think, Don? Who you got in this one?
Edson Barbosa is honestly my favorite fighter in the UFC. Mm-hmm. I love his style, the way he was fighting. Paul Felder, in that fight, impressed the hell out of me. He stood in there for 3 rounds if you looked at the right side of his body from those body shots after the switch kicks, that dude was still standing. Yeah. We've seen other people fall from body shots. We've seen leg kicks take him out. Paul Felder stood there, bit down on his mouthpiece, and was throwing spinning kicks and spinning back fists all the fight. Here's the other thing. We've never seen him ever get hurt, really. We've never seen him get knocked out. We've seen Ross Pearson get hurt. We've seen Ross Pearson get knocked out. Ross Pearson's last few fights, not really impressive at all. I mean, he wins when he's supposed to, and then he gets screwed over, of course, against Diego in New Mexico. But we're going to talk about that one. When it comes to this fight, Paul Felder, it's his fight to win. I mean, if he loses, then it's going to be probably one of, if not the biggest one for Ross Pearson in recent memory. Paul Felder, he has a chance. It's kind of like they're going to give him somebody that they know he's going to do well against. So Irish Dragon's going to win. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun fight to watch, though, and it's free, so worth it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And the thing is, too, Paul, like I said, Paul Felder, he's fought better guys. To me, in my opinion, as it seems like he's had the better fights, I think. Ross Pearson, I'd love for him to just be put against strikers, right? Just unless he wants to move up and try to go for a title. But I think at this point, that's kind of, axed out. I don't think it's going to happen. But, all right, let's move on here to the next fight. The first fight on the main card on pay-per-view, only on pay-per-view, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, kicks off by the ladies. Number 7, strawweight Paige Van Zandt taking on Astro Girl Alex Chambers. This is the first time I actually heard Paige's nickname is 12 Gauge Paige, which definitely sounds like some alpha male bullshit that they came up with in the gym or something. I don't know where she got that from, but it's okay, cool, 12 Gauge, cool. But on the outside, it looks like they're feeding Chambers to Paige, right? It just really looks like they're feeding her to Paige because Chambers is not on the feet very good. Her jiu-jitsu is solid though. I think her last fight she won. Forgot how she did it, but it was by with jiu-jitsu move. It was a submission. So, and it wasn't expected, by the way. So I mean, it could be another underdog story for Chambers. She could definitely win this. In fact, Andrew Reed has chimed in. Mr. Reed is picking Astro Girl for the pure reason that she's a scientist. So he goes, she's a scientist, of course she's going to win. I'm like, all right, man, like, that's cool. So, which she is, I forgot what she has a degree in, but she's a smart chick. So he's going Chambers. Let's start with Jesse here, because I know Don has what he wants to say about this. But Jesse, go ahead. Who you got in this one?
Oh, man. Honestly, the thing that sucks about this is that you can't really go off of Paige Van Zandt's record because 5-1, 1 submission, 1 knockout. That's it. The rest are decisions. Alex Chambers, 2-2, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions, 5-2. Both of them very young, still in their careers. But the thing that I point out to you here is that Chambers in those 2 losses didn't look like she was gonna grind out a win. She just got overwhelmed and got beaten. And Paige, from what we've seen, she gets overwhelmed, she gets her composure back, and she goes back in there and tries to find a way to win. She only lost to Tisha Torres. Tisha Torres is a beast. Mm-hmm. She doesn't look like a beast, but she is a beast. And in my opinion, Tisha's just got to go back to the drawing board and go back to what she was doing before. This whole trying to, decision to win just ain't working for her. But I really feel that Paige Van Zandt here is just going to steamroll Alex Chambers. Alex Chambers isn't as tough and won't, in my opinion, won't bring the level of who was the last one that Paige fought? The chick that she just fought. What was her name? What was that?
She beat Felice Herrig last.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And if you look at that fight, Felice gave her just a walloping in the first round and a half, basically. Mm-hmm. And Paige, she could have easily just succumbed to that, to the beating that she took. No, she, basically got back in there and fought her way through that. And I think that's what people fail to understand about Paige. She may be overhyped, and I don't think she is anywhere near getting a title shot. Maybe like for 4 or 5 fights later, because she still has a lot to work on. But I just see her as having one thing that a lot of other women don't have in that division. That's toughness, and the ability to learn and to try and adjust within a fight. And I think that's what's going to propel her to win this fight. I think whatever Alex Chambers throws at her, she's going to be able to just get out of it, work her way out of it, and find a way to win.
Yeah, and the thing about Paige too is just, you were mentioning maybe being 4 or 5 fights away from a title shot. I agree on that, unless Valerie Letourneau summons like every deity she knows and somehow gets a win over Johanna. If that happens, 100% they're throwing Paige in there. Okay, I think Paige could beat Letourneau. Not no problem, but I think she could beat her pretty convincingly, maybe in the 3rd, 4th roundish. But that's another fight that might probably won't happen. Let's just say it's probably not going to happen. Letourneau is not going to beat Johanna, let's be honest. But at least I don't think. But if that happens, I think Paige will be throwing that title shot. So, all right, Don, what do you think of this?
All right. So,
By the
Alex.
way, Nick's gonna be mad at you, like really.
Yeah,
sad.
Nick's gonna hate me, but here. Um, I'm gonna go with the astrophysicist, Alex Chambers. Man, Granted, this is only based on the fact that if I bet $100 on her, I can win 950 back.
Oh
But
yeah, the line.
dude, the line
my
is ridiculous.
God.
Paige is a 1,400 favorite, so you win $7 on a $100 bet.
Dear God.
Here's the thing. I love Paige's style. She's an alpha male person. I like the way alpha male fights. You know, it's nonstop, pure just cardio. Chris Holdsworth does it perfectly back when he was fighting, and that's who our main training partner this camp was Chris Holdsworth, a 145 dude, and apparently she was holding her own against a 145. But my choices this card are mostly going to be people that you don't think are going to win, and I'm going to go with Alex Chambers. I just think it's going to be. Paige is going to try to be all cool and go down on the ground with her, and it's going to get armbarred just like Kylan Curran got armbarred the last time they fought. And let's just go with it. I mean, worst case scenario, I'll have one loss today, but let's go, Alex. I got you.
Yeah, put down that $100 bet, man. Who knows, man? Andrew Reed's with you on that one. He thinks she's gonna win, but yeah. I'll be done, man. I'm gonna pick Miss Van Zandt here to win. I think they're feeding Chambers to the wolves, man. I have to, it's just kind of what it is. And just like you were saying, she's an alpha male athlete, so those guys hit hard and know how to strike. And Chambers' weakness is striking. So unless she catches Van Zandt in some kind of submission, it's hard to pick Astro Girl for me.
I got one more though. Let's just say it this way: Paige is 20. She's 21 now.
Yeah, she's young.
She just broke up with Garbrandt. 21. I was 21 at one point. Kind of emotional in relationships. You never know. She could. As soon as she hears that bell ring, she looks out there. There's Uriah right next to him. Cody. In emotions, she gets sad. Armbar. $950. So.
All right. That's it. Hey Eddie, we gotta pull our money together and send Nick over there just to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
no, Nick's too busy. He can't go out there. He's working on Vetch.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Nick's Nick. For anyone that doesn't know, Nick Pilecki was also on Crossbones MMA. You've seen him on In the Pocket and Keyboard Warriors, and I think once or twice in these pre-fight shows. We'll be asking Miss Betchko here to marry her before her boyfriend does, cause that ass. So he's gonna be all over it. He's all about it. So, yeah. But look, man, that's the funny part. You know what's funny about that? The fact that the most recognized reporter in MMA today is the one that broke that news. Fucking idiot. I can't stand that dude. But he's like, oh, did you break up with Cody Garbrandt? Huh? And that become a thing. I mean, he's TMZ now. What the fuck? So, whatever, man. It's all horse shit. But now, Ariel Helwani probably, if he ever watches, is gonna see what you just said right there. He'll be like, what the fuck? You don't shit on this guy. Okay, you're the number one guy, supposedly. But all good, man. Nick will be tweeting over later. Anyway, moving on here. Oh, I'm sorry. And also, we got tweets in. Mike Jarvis is picking Paige. He says, Mike Jarvis thinks Paige, he tweets over, I say Paige railroads her. Very possible. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. So you're kind of on your own. Oh, you and Aaron and Andrew Reed are on your own on that one. All right.
Look, I'm not hating on you guys. I just like I said, it's that toughness and that ability to learn in the cage and adjust. You know, a lot of people have problem adjusting in a fight, and that's like one of the key things. I'm not saying it's gonna be a railroad because that'd be stupid to say that. You know, like she's no Ronda Rousey. She hasn't proven that she can just steamroll people. And for anybody to think that this is gonna be an easy fight all around, you're retarded, honestly, because it's a fight, and you know, like you just never know. I mean, we've seen people that are like, you know, really, really high favorite. Look at TJ Dillashaw and what's his name, the Brazilian guy. Nobody gave TJ a shot. Nobody. Yeah, Renan Barão. Nobody. Everybody was like, oh yeah, Renan Barão, he's gonna have to move up because he's gonna clean out the division, blah blah blah, and he got wrecked, just wrecked. You know. It's a fight. I'm just saying that there's qualities that Paige has that it looks to me that she could win this fight. Hey, Don, you know what? I'll go 50, you go 50. We put $100 on Chambers, and then we'll celebrate later and flash our money in front of Eddie.
Come on now. All right, let's go on to the next fight. So if I can pull up this card. All right, the next fight is going to be Mr. number 12, 205, the 205ers. Number 12 is Jan Blachowicz, is I guess how you say that, against the guy that doesn't know there's only 24 hours and 7 days in a week, Corey Anderson, Mr. Beastin 25-8. Apparently he's on some kind of time-space continuum shit where he gets an extra fucking day. So, whatever, man. All right, so this fight, to me, Corey Anderson is boring. I hear Corey Anderson gonna fight. I'm like, he's got one knockout. That's cool, or whatever. As far as the UFC, I think he's got one knockout. I think, if I remember correctly. This is hard to pick because I don't care about either guy. I'm gonna go with Blachowicz here, just based off experience, right? But I don't know. It's hard for me to pick. But I'm going with John here. Let's start with Jesse. What do you think?
Doesn't Corey Anderson train out of with Weidman's camp?
I think he does. Well, no, that's Eddie Gordon, I think.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Corey doesn't fight because he fought John last time, and John fights with Weidman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Consider me a racist. A black guy confusing him with another black guy.
They all look alike. Just kidding. Kidding, America. That's
the thing. That's the problem here in this fight. I don't know what Corey Anderson brings to this fight. He like Eddie said, he's boring. He doesn't bring anything that will make you remember him. He doesn't have that wow factor. He doesn't have the skills that you're going to be like, oh yeah, this is a guy to look after. And I don't even understand why these guys are on the main card. I mean, they should have put maybe Ross Pearson and Paul Felder here in this spot. Or they could have put the chick fight, the Jessica Andrade and Raquel Pennington fight here. Like either one of those fights would probably have been a better choice, in my opinion, than this fight. I think this is a showcase fight for John, and I think he's going to pretty much just do what he does, just go in there, use a lot of his skills to set up his striking, set up his takedowns, and either submit him or, ground and pound him out. Corey Anderson, he has 3 knockout / TKOs on his record. Everything else is a decision. No submission, no ground game whatsoever. So I just don't see what he's bringing to this fight except maybe just a lot of excitement and then getting beat up and put down. So John Blachowicz for me on this one.
Yeah, and Corey Anderson lost last fight via TKO, And before that was a decision. The only guy he's knocked out is Matt Van Buren. Who the fuck is Matt Van Buren? You know what I mean? And that was a UFC Tough finale. Which, by the way, if you watch that season of Tough, that might be the most boring, worst season of Tough. Not that they've been great the last few years, but the last few seasons. But that was a garbage season. And against he beat a guy that shouldn't be a professional fighter in the UFC. Maybe in Bellator or somewhere else, but not in the UFC. So yeah, that's the thing. Just like you were saying, I don't. There's nothing he brings to the table that makes me want to watch him, and definitely does not belong in the main card. So definitely an incorrectly booked fight as far as where they put it. I would definitely prefer Andrade or Pennington, and definitely Ross and Paul in that one too. But Don, let's go with you, man. What do you think of this fight, and who you got, and what's the line?
Okay, so what people don't really remember is that when John was first put on this card, he was actually supposed to face Anthony Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That was the original fight. It was kind of like giving Anthony, here's your softball, go ahead and hit it out, show people what you really are. So it's good that they brought Corey Anderson in. Now, I'm a fan of Corey Anderson, and it's going to be based on the same reason I'm a fan of Ray Borg, that nickname. Beastin 25-8 might be the coolest / dumbest nickname in the UFC. I love it. Corey Anderson, I'm going to choose you. It's kind of the pick'em fight because Corey's the positive 120. He's kind of the underdog. But John is only a minus 140. That's all it is. So it's super close. I'm just going to flip a coin and say, let's go Corey Anderson. Let's just see what happens. I don't really have a dog in the fight, but Corey. Cool nickname. I like it.
Fucking A, man. Beastin 25-8.
That means he's one better than all of us.
It just sounds like a shitty rap lyric, dude. It's just, Beastin 25-8. Just waiting for 50 Cent. 50 Cent. It's some shit 50 Cent would say. How's that? 50 Cent would make that ridiculous fucking. Not even Kanye would go with that. Kanye would go off on how he's a god and a bunch of dumb shit. But I think 50 Cent would say, I'm beasting 25A, hustling, what? Something like that. But,
Oh, wait, I should not use that. Take that off the list.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Drake makes money, and his songs are garbage, but the beats are nice. My opinion, America, relax. I know you guys like your Canadian golden boy of rap. I don't fucking get it.
Shots fired.
Yeah, many. I've shot him many times, or I fired many times. Anyway, moving on to the first of the last three fights, probably the fights with the most hype, I think. Besides Pierce and Felder, of course. Anthony Rumble Johnson, just like Don was saying, was supposed to fight John Blachowicz. And then we have, obviously, Anthony Johnson's the #1 contender. He's ranked #1 in the division. Going against Jimmy Manuwa, #7. We got Rumble against Poster Boy. Now, here's what I like about this fight. Both of these guys are strong as all hell. Both of these guys can put you to sleep. But one of them has a better gas tank than the other. And so it's going to be up to the first round to see if Anthony Johnson's going to win this fight. And I think if it gets past the first, we're going to see Jimmy Manuwa do work in the second and third. I think it's going to be his game plan. Get out of the first, tire Anthony Johnson out, and in the second and the third, put some hands on him, and then all you got to do is win the last 2 rounds if you want to go to decision, because I don't think you're going to knock out Anthony Johnson. I don't think it's going to happen. But, okay, I'm picking Anthony Johnson and the fact that he's just a killer in the first round. That dude just goes in there and tries to put you out. Jimmy Manuwa is not Daniel Cormier. Not Daniel Cormier. He's not John Jones. So Anthony Johnson's going to get this fight. But here's the weird thing about him. There's a lot of distractions going on Anthony Rumble Johnson right now. Just coming off a second domestic violence allegation. And then just in the last 2 days, there's a petition going around that they want the UFC, people want the UFC to cut Anthony Johnson because of alleged mistreatment of dogs. Right? As we know, pitbulls. He has pit bulls, but he has his own kennels. I think it's called Rumble Time Kennels, I think is what it's called. I don't remember correctly, or I don't remember really off the top of my head. But he has his own kennels, and there was a picture going around of a pit bull with his ear cut down a little bit. It's legal in the U.S. to do it. I know everywhere else pretty much is legal to do that. Legal in the U.S., but the person that made this petition is, basically alleged that it wasn't done by a vet, which we don't know. They definitely don't know. So it's a lot of circumstantial stuff. There's supposed to be a protest going on there outside of UFC 191, outside of the building, to protest against Anthony Rumble Johnson because of the domestic violence issues and possibly partly because of the dog issues, the dog allegations. So there's a lot going on in Rumble. The one thing Rumble has, I think, is that he's able to ignore that, or at least get really angry about it. If it's one thing Rumble can do is get really mad. If he throws a yoga mat, across the gym because some chick's doing yoga in the lifting spot, maybe that kind of shit doesn't bother him. It just makes him angrier. So there's a lot of things going around him. I think he's gonna be able to get past and get through and win this fight and maybe get back into contender status, maybe a rematch against DC or once the real champion comes back. Fortunately, I hate to say that, but once the real champ comes back against him finally. But I got Anthony Rumble Johnson on this one. Don, who you got?
Okay. Kind of the same thing. Anthony's power is ridiculous. He's a -600, pretty big bet, and then Jimmy's a plus 450. So in the way that it is, if you want to think about something that's crazy, Anthony's fought like in 5 different weight classes in his career. He's fought everything from heavyweight down to 170. This dude has beaten Andrei Arlovsky by decision. If you want to talk about cardio, how great his cardio is, watch him against Phil Davis. Phil Davis could not take Anthony Johnson down. Jimmy Manuwa, we've seen him get knocked out. I mean, his only loss is against Alexander Gustafsson, the guy who's come closest to beating Jones. I'm going to just say Anthony Johnson will knock him out, and it's not going to be in the first. Manuwa's going to use his speed and his cardio to get out of the first. It might be late in the second, early in the third, but I'm gonna go with Anthony Johnson, my one only favorite that I'm gonna pick this whole card.
All right. Really, that's the only favorite you picked?
That's the only favorite, yeah, because everybody else, some of the lines, including the next fight that we're gonna talk about, is really close.
Did you get a fat bonus check and shit, and now you're just gonna go out there and just put it down on all the underdogs?
I'm going to do what's known as the Floyd Mayweather thing and just say bet on everybody who's gonna make me a lot of money.
There you go.
Isn't Felder a favorite in that fight?
Who?
Paul Felder?
I don't think he has that line on there.
I don't have
Oh,
the line
okay.
on that one, but if we're gonna go with that, then go Ross Pearson.
There you go. All right, Jesse, what do you think of this fight, man? Who you got?
Man, I agree with you guys. I mean, the only thing I don't like about this fight is what you said, Eddie. There's just so many things outside, the pressure on the outside on Anthony Johnson. But I mean, you look at the guy in the cage, in the octagon. He's the most stand-up guy, the most like supposedly nicest guy.
Did he freeze?
Dude.
I think he
The
froze.
ability
Oh, there he is.
to really, huh?
I think you froze for like a split second. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. No, I just don't know what Minowa is gonna do to Johnson that Johnson hasn't already been through. What he hasn't been through going against, like Don said, against Arlovsky. I mean, you look at that fight, man. That was a crazy fight, man. And he was fighting at heavyweight. So to be able to take those punches and still break Andrei Arlovsky's jaw and still just get in there and grind him out to nothing. I mean, you just cannot pick against Anthony Johnson in this fight. Jimmy Manawa, I mean, only losses to Gustafsson, but I mean, to me it just seems like Manawa is good enough to beat those guys that aren't in the upper echelon. He's good enough to beat the guys that maybe you could say like 7 and below, maybe 10 and below. But above that, I just don't see that Manawa has the ability to or has the skills to beat those guys. And I think Anthony Johnson is in that level where Manawa's just treading into too deep of water and he's just gonna get taken care of. So Anthony Johnson here, I think it might be a decision, and unfortunately I think it might it's gonna be one of those boring decisions because both of these guys know what the other one brings. There's a lot of power, and they're gonna avoid trying to really get in the pocket and trade with each other. And I think it's going to be one of those fights where Johnson is kind of, sidestepping a little bit, trying to counterpunch Minowa. Minowa's going to be thinking about counterpunching, and nobody's going to throw a punch, and then it's just going to just go on like that for 3 rounds. So I hope I'm wrong, but I just see Johnson winning and it being kind of a boring fight.
All right, I'm hoping you're wrong and it's an exciting fight because it's a co-main. Or it's almost the co-main, but could have been the co-main basically. But let's talk about the co-main. We got two former heavyweight champions. Number 4, Andrei Arlovsky, the Pitbull, taking on number 10, Frank Mir, or Frank Mir, if you want to talk it the Lesnar way. Look, Frank Mir is a guy with a lot of experience. We know he's the king of jiu-jitsu at heavyweight, right? Maybe between him and Fabricio's really, really good. It could be even. But we know he's got the ground game. He's broken arms, he's done everything. But his stand-up game has improved like vastly, like a lot. He's got really, really good on the feet now. He showed it against Todd Duffy, who went in there like a freaking psycho and he swung a weird punch like with his arm sideways, like a hammer, like a backwards hammer fist. It was really weird. But anyway, Frank Mir showing that his stand-up is improved. He's going to be taking on a guy who's a stand-up fighter. So it's I'm picking Frank Mir on this one. I think I like Frank Mir. I think he's got just different skills, and he's way better on the ground. This fight could end up on the ground. And I think the thing is that's in his side is that he's come out and stood with people. And he's come out taking people down. You don't know what he's going to do. He can do whatever he wants now. It's almost like in football. If you run the ball and it's effective, you can do play action. The defense doesn't know whether you're going to run or you're going to pass, right? That's how it works in football. It's kind of the same in this situation. I like Frank Mir. He's just got a better set of skills, I think. And, of course, I still can't forget Andrei Arlovsky's glass chin. It's a glass chin. You know what I mean? And you never know when it's going to be when it's going to be his time to get knocked out. I mean, he got knocked out against Travis Brown, and then he came back like a monster. That was awesome. But he did get knocked down. So I'm picking Frank Mir. Let's go with Dom. Who do you think wins this fight, and what's the line?
The line, right now we got Andrei Arlovsky favorite, 160. Frank Mir's the underdog at 140. Once again, stupid close. But just from my choice, I'm going to go with Frank because Frank has that thing that nobody ever really talks about, which is his guard is ridiculous. That dude can sub you from his back, and that's not normal for a heavyweight. It's like him and Verdun are the 2 best ever in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the UFC from heavyweight division. I just think Arlovsky's gonna pop Frank. This fight ain't going to decision. But he's going to pop Frank early. Frank's going to fall, get on his back, and then it's going to be kind of like what we saw with Lesnar. Andre's going to try to ground and pound, and there might be a heel hook that happens. But I think Frank might win by decision, or not decision, but will win by submission in the first. So let's go with it. I mean, Frank's going to win me $140 if I bet 100. So I mean, it's not a lot, but Frank got that experience. 26. This now is like 26th UFC fight in his career. He's only fought 2 times ever outside.
Yeah,
So,
no, definitely.
let's go Frank.
All right, Jesse, what do you think of this fight? Who you got?
Oh man, it's tough because, like you guys said, I mean, Frank Mir, basically, he is the UFC. I mean, he's pretty much almost started his career in the UFC. I'm pretty sure he's probably going to end his career in the UFC. Arlovsky almost, I mean, he has a lot more fights. I think he has 34 fights total. I think he's 24-10 on his record on a 3-fight winning streak. But if you look at those 3 wins that he's had, Travis Brown is probably the most impressive one. But like you said, he got rocked in there. He almost did the Pat Barry Czech Congo thing where one of them gets knocked out, kind of wobbles around, and ends up knocking the other guy. And his first fight back, he fought Brendan Schaub. Not a very exciting or impressive fight whatsoever. Didn't really show much in that fight. I just don't see how Arlovsky can win this fight, especially with Frank Mir's much better striking. I came back to hear you talking about his Frank Mir striking, and I mean that has been the difference maker in my opinion in his last 2 wins. And then you look at who he's lost to. That streak that he went on, it was Cormier, Barnett, and Overeem. Overeem still looking pretty good after his last fight. Barnett taking a little bit of time off, but he was doing very, very well up until he ran into Travis Brown, who was kind of streaking at the time. And then Cormier, I mean, what can you say about that guy? Fought at heavyweight, beat a lot of good guys, moved down, and just couldn't beat the king at 205. But now he's a champ. So I mean, those are 3 respectable losses that really, in my opinion, don't minimize Frank Mir. It kind of elevates him to the fact that he's still the guy to beat in this division. And I really hope that after this fight, they can probably give him a title shot, because I think this will probably be the last time that we can talk about Frank Mir as a title contender. Andrei Arlovsky, the same thing. If he wins, might as well just put him in there. I mean, both of these guys are pretty much at their end of their careers. It's not to say that they just can't do it anymore or they've taken too much damage or anything. But I mean, they've been in this so long that I would rather just see them have a title fight and then say, all right, I'm good, I'm done. I achieved as much as I could, and I'm walking away, because their career has been so pretty amazing up until this point. And I really agree with you guys. I don't think this fight's going to go to a decision. I think this is going to have a finish one way or another. And I hope Frank Mir really sticks to what he's been doing, his striking. I mean, his striking has looked really, really clean. And this is the biggest test on his striking that he's had so far. So, I mean, it should be an exciting fight. And I'm just going to go with Frank Mir here.
All right. And to your point that you might as well give either one a title shot, or the winner a title shot, I agree with that, especially because heavyweights can take time off as much as really they want to, it seems, and plus they're bigger guys that need time off. But a Fabricio Mir or a Cain Velasquez Mir would be a very intriguing fight, I think, especially if it's Fabricio, because we might get to see a jiu-jitsu match with 2 heavyweights, which would be awesome. And Arlovsky going in there, against Fabricio, we kind of know what would happen. If he goes in there against Cain, who knows? So it'd be depending on who wins the title fight and who wins this fight, we might get a pretty interesting matchup. All right, let's move on to the main event of the evening. 5 rounds in the flyweight division. John Dodson, the Magician, taking on Mr. Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse, who first of all needs to drop that nickname very fast, and is seems unstoppable at 125. So. Let's go with Don here. Who's your pick, and what do you think of the fight?
This fight, it's really just the most difficult to choose from for me, because Demetrius Johnson is probably pound for pound the best fighter that we've seen in recent memory. I mean, he's just so dominant. The last time he lost was to Dominic Cruz, and that was at 135 before they even brought this division in the UFC. But then you have John Dodson. I've never seen anyone hit as hard as he does at such a small weight. It's just Demetrius Johnson. It's good for the sport if he would lose, because you're kind of running into the Rousey situation. I mean, Jesse talked about this a few days ago. If he wins, what's next? It's really hard to find someone he hasn't already fought. There's 2 or 3 people left in the top 10 for him. And then if John Dodson wins, that opens the door up for the 3rd fight. And if he wins the 3rd fight, then you have a new champ. Then you're set up for rematches and better fights. My heart is telling me John Dodson, but my brain is telling me Demetrius, who's a favorite 600 to John Dodson's plus 450. I'm gonna say John Dodson is gonna win, but it's really hard to choose against Demetrius. But let's go Dodson, or I'm sorry, Dadson. You got this.
Dadson, and yes, of course, Mr. John Dodson just had a little girl. If you didn't watch any of the embeddeds, which I don't blame you, he got to Vegas, went over to the Tough Gym to do a little bit of training, was just warming up around the cage, and gets a phone call. And it's back from phone call from Albuquerque saying, hey, it's on. Your girlfriend's in labor. It's time to go. And of course, like any good father would do, jumps on the plane and flies right back to witness the birth of his I think it was a baby girl. So yeah. So congratulations, Mr. Dodson. And here's my view on this fight. John Dodson is athletic. He's strong. He's pretty much as fast and as quick as DJ. DJ has a gas tank for years, it seems. That dude can go forever. As he actually said in one of the embedded videos, he gives John Dodson full credit for knocking him down, I think 3 times in the first fight, but that he popped right back up and started fighting again. So, I would like to see Dodson win. I really would. I'm with you on that. I think I would like to see a new champion at 125, but I'm picking Demetrius Johnson. Dude's just that damn technical. It's just that damn good, man. And it's just the gas tank. The technique he fights with on the ground and on the feet is it's almost flawless. So I'm gonna go with the champ here. Jesse, who you got in this fight?
What are you said it was really, really close on the odds, right, Don?
It's 600 for Demetrius and 450 for Dodson.
Yeah. See, the problem here is I think that reflects the fact of John Dodson's last performance. Granted, he's been off for it was all like over a year that he was off because of his knee.
Yeah.
I think the problem with that is the fact that initially when we first saw John Dodson, he was quick, he was agile, he had the power because the speed created the power. But in that last fight against Zach Mikowski, he just looked flat. He looked like he had no cardio, and he said he had been training for a while, trying to get back into shape, trying to get back in there, because he wanted to give Demetrius Johnson, his comeuppance and take his title. Man, that fight just lost it all for me, in my opinion. And if that John Dodson shows up to this fight, it's going to be over very quickly. It's going to be another Joseph Benavidez where he gets cracked. And see, that's the problem. With Demetrius Johnson, what we talked about in his last fight, Eddie, is that Demetrius Johnson doesn't make mistakes, and the mistakes that you make, he makes you pay for it dearly.
Yes.
He doesn't just kind of pitter-pat you or just kind of take you down or something when you make a mistake. No, he tries to finish you because of one mistake that you make. And John Dodson has to be on another level from what he showed in his last fight. And I just don't see it. I mean, I think that his knee has kind of hampered him a little bit. He's got to get more. I almost feel like he just needed another fight to be completely secure that his knee's not going to hurt him and that he's got the confidence to go in there. I mean, he may be talking it up like he's got my title. I'm just going to take it back. I already whooped him the first time. I won that fight. But, I mean, he didn't. And, I mean, Demetrius Johnson, he got cracked, but he got back up. You didn't put him down. You didn't put him down completely. You couldn't hold him down. So, I mean, everything that John Dodson did to him, he can't rely on that anymore. He can't rely on, I'm going to eventually hit him. oh, I'm gonna eventually get him on the ground. Like, you can't rely on that because Demetrius learns from his mistakes and he learns how to shore up all those holes. And that's the problem, that with every fight, Demetrius Johnson has been getting better and better and better. I think somebody mentioned that he's had like Demetrius Johnson has had like 4 or 5 fights since John Dotson's 2, I think. I think he's had like 2 fights since then. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we see the evolution of Demetrius Johnson, you know, getting better and better and better. And I almost feel that John Dotson just got hindered because of his injury. And now he's just slightly not on the same level as Demetrius anymore. I think if he hadn't gotten hurt and he had 2 fights maybe and then had another fight, I think it would have been a completely different story, and I think he probably could have taken the belt from him at that time. But I think it's the same effect with Ronda Rousey, where the more time you let her get, you know, fights under her belt, the better she's going to get, and the harder it's going to be to beat her or find somebody that's going to be on her level. So, I think this is where Demetrius Johnson has shined recently. And I disagree with you guys. I think having a dominant champion at a weight division isn't such a horrible thing. I think it's actually a good thing until we can find that one person, like a Conor McGregor or a Chael Sonnen, or, you know, one of those guys that talks a lot of shit, backs it up, and just comes running through the field, you know, and, you know, puts the champ on notice. And I just hate it that John Dotson is in this position where if he loses again, now he's 2-0 against or 0-2 against the champ, because he's the type of guy that brings that out of the champion. You know, he brings like almost like a different version of Demetrius Johnson out of him, because, you know, he talks a lot of shit. He tells him, oh, you know, I punched you in the mouth and you went down. You know, that title is mine. Like, he pushes Demetrius Johnson's buttons. And I kind of wish that we had like a do-over where, like, you know, this was his first fight, and if he lost, we still have another fight to look forward to where he can build off of it, you know. But you know, it's sad to say that, you know, this is going to be his second shot at this, you know, and then what's going to happen after that? We're going to have another Joe Benavidez in the division where now he can't get another title shot unless either, you know, Demetrius loses or, you know, he racks up, like 6-7 wins in a row, you know, and that's in itself like a big task. So I don't think it's a bad thing, and I like how Demetrius wants to break the record of most title defenses. And I just think he might be the guy to do it. And, I mean, you got to look at it, guys. I mean, he is, in my opinion, probably the pound-for-pound best fighter that we have in the UFC. I mean, he just doesn't do anything that doesn't help him in the fight. He doesn't waste energy, just, you know, trying to, you know, feel out an opponent. He just goes straight forward and just gets in your face and makes sure that whatever mistake you're doing, he takes advantage of it. And that's a guy that's really dangerous all around. So, long rant, but Demetrius Johnson going to take this fight, and I don't think it's going to be a decision.
Yeah, I think it'll be I mean, even if it's the last second finish like last time, you know, it'll be a finish. But I get your point on about a long-time champion until the right person comes along. It's, you know, it'll get to a point where people, like, for example, Ronda, it'll get to the point if it isn't already there or hasn't already been there, where people just want contenders to come up to see if they could beat Ronda. Every single fight that she has, it's like, oh, she's gonna be the one, and then nope, she's gonna be the one, nope. And Holly Holmes, no one's even talking about her being the one. There's just no way. But at least it seems that way. But
same thing with John Jones, remember? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. I mean, like John Jones, oh, Glover Teixeira, oh, dude, he's gonna get him in the clinch and beat him up. Nope. Daniel Cormier, oh, he's gonna wrestle him down and take him down and just smother him. Nope. You know, exactly. It's like, you know, you get excited for those fights like that.
That Cormier one still hurts, so let's not talk about
that. Hey, man, you know, I love Cormier, and I just don't know what happened in that fight, man. He looked flat. It just sucked, because you see what Cormier did to those heavyweights, and it's like John Jones was on another level for some reason, and he just couldn't do what he does.
It's honestly, it's going to be kind of the same thing that I think could happen to John Dotson. If you watch it, Cormier got too emotional. It's the same thing that happened to Betch. That's the best that I can tell you right there. That's the best example. You get too emotionally involved in just the thought of hating that person you're going to fight, that you dump it as soon as you get in there. You try your hardest, and then all your energy's gone. Slam for 5 rounds. You punch the ref in the face at the end of the fight. And then it's possible it could happen to Dodson, because Dodson, if you watch the embeddeds like I did, I watched every single one. He's on that next level of, that's my title, it's my time, it's not his. And then Dimitri's just like, yeah, it's whatever. Okay, cool. We're gonna fight again. So let's go Dodson. I wouldn't mind seeing a new champion just for, even if it's just one time.
Definitely. And shout out to Andrew Reed. He's tuning in now. And actually, I told you guys he picked Astro Girl. He picked Alex Chambers to beat Van Zandt. He's also going Jimmy Manuwa, Andre Arlovsky, and he's going with Demetrius Johnson for the title fight. So, I mean, yeah, I get the. Oh, here's, I want to read his tweet about Chambers. His exact tweet was, "Chambers is a scientist. Of course she will win." So, I guess let's get Bill Nye in here to fight somebody because he'll win.
CM Punk.
Huh?
Bill Nye versus CM Punk confirmed. UFC 200.
It would be a close fight, at least.
I wouldn't say that. Nah.
I know, no way. But anyway.
CM Punk can't handle a beaker to the head.
That'd be hilarious if it actually happened. Anyway, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. The fights are approximately 2.5 hours away. So, the first Fight Pass fights go down in about 2.5 hours. Again, I'll read the time so you guys remember. Early Fight Pass prelims on Fight Pass. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Fox Sports 1 prelims, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Unless somehow there's some bullshit on there that goes longer, like a freaking NASCAR race or some baseball game. I haven't looked at the schedule. Hopefully it doesn't happen. And, of course, the main card on pay-per-view, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. This is a good one, even though DJ's on it. It's a pretty good main card, I think, other than the Blachowicz fight with Anderson. That's just weird. The rest of them are pretty good. So I definitely want to watch. You can follow Jesse at Spawat1983. That's SPW181983. You can follow Don at CBMMA_Don. You can follow me at Elaw31. The page is at Crossroads MMA. Of course, you can go to crossroadsmma.com for all of our content. And you can hit us up during the fights. Of course, as always, I'll be doing I'll be talking with people about the fights with everybody else and doing play-by-play of the main card. So definitely hit us, all three of us, up on Twitter. We love to talk to everybody. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks, guys, for coming on the show today. And everybody enjoy the fights, and have a good night.